and welcome to another episode of Baseball Talk, counting down the NL East. Uh, Before I get into that, we gotta, I'm a Phillies fan. We gotta talk about rest in peace, Real Cormier. Unfortunately, he died a few days ago due to cancer. Unfortunately, and yeah, man, he was, for me growing up, he was probably one of the more underrated relievers in Major League Baseball, especially, as a Phillies fan. He had some of his best years as a Philly. I remember, I think it was '03. He had an ERA under 2, and I think at one point, I don't know if it was that season or if it was another season, he pitched the most innings or most games. I forget which stat it was for the Phillies by a reliever ever. Um, and yeah, man, class act. He's gotten a lot of love from Jim Thome, Mickey Morandini. Just a lot of his Phillies teammates have said a lot of great things about him. And another cool little stat about Cormier. He had the last win at the Vet and the first win ever at Citizens Bank Park. So that's pretty cool. So it sounds like he was a great person, and the baseball world definitely is going to miss him. So rest in peace, Real Cormier. So getting into today's episode, if you guys haven't caught who else that I've counted down so far, had the Marlins coming at number 5 because they're the Marlins. And then the Nationals came in at 4th in the NL East. I had them there. So I'll have those in the description box if you guys missed those. So go check those out. But today, obviously, looking at the title of the video, you guys know I had the Phillies coming in at number 3. It's not a bad thing. I think the Phillies they're a solid team. They're just in a loaded division, and I'm gonna get to that in future videos in the next couple of weeks. But they're in a loaded division. They don't have a bad team. There's just some holes that need to be fixed, and in general. So I think the bullpen, you can't fix a bullpen that was that bad last year, historically all time that bad. You can't fix it in one season. Yes, you can progress, and I mean, they have no other choice to. You have nowhere to go but up. So for the Phillies bullpen, I think they're going to be in the right direction. They made the right moves. Kinsler and Tony Watson, both on minor league deals, is a steal to me for the Phillies. Some questions with the rotation. Honestly, I know a lot of people like Eflin, but I got to see it with him over a full season. He's been good at times in his career. We've all seen that, in a shortened season, 11, 12 starts. He was good, but he's done that. He's had stretches like that in his career. So, Wheeler and Nola are the only ones I can really trust at this point. So, besides that, 3, 4, and 5 are still question marks to me. And then the offense, least worrisome to me, no doubt. Who knows if they're going to be a top 5 team in runs scored in Major League Baseball this year again. I don't know. But you bring back Didi, you bring back Real Muto, who are right in the meat of that order. They're going to be at least a top 10 offense in Major League Baseball. But that's my thoughts on the Phillies. To me, they're an 82, 83 win team. If they win a few more games, I wouldn't be surprised. But to get to 90 wins is going to be tough, especially in this division. But, I have a guest on today's show. So we're going to do a little something different for today's episode. We have the editor / writer from Fansided's Section 215, excuse me, and the co-host of the Bullpen Blues podcast, David Esser. David, how's it going?
Francisco, thanks for having me on. You crushed my last name. People get it wrong all the time.
What
you
is it?
nailed
I'm sorry. I gotta ask. Yeah.
No. Like you got it correct. It's Esser. So
how else people said that?
I've heard Esser. I've heard other things. I've heard all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it is Esser. Good job for that. Thanks for having me on today. So the Phillies.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with anything you just said. I want to make that very clear. Like,
okay.
Rotation, I'm not as high on the rotation as most. I love your points on Eflin. That's actually how I kind of met Francisco on Twitter. He posted a video about Eflin. I was like, I agree with every single point he just made, because people are calling him an ace, a 1C, a Cy Young. He's not that. He's a good pitcher.
Cy Eflin? No.
Yeah, we're not doing that this year. Agree with everything you said. The bullpen, look, they've made some additions. Are they anywhere close to a bullpen that the Yankees have, or Tampa Bay, or even Houston, or even the Mets or the Nationals? No, probably not, right? Offense, love the offense. I have them in second place, but by such a small margin. I think this is a race that's going to come down to the last couple of games of the season, all the way down to the wire in the NL East. And if you had to say, hey, David, put money on the Phillies finishing in second place, I wouldn't, because I'm not like overly sold on that logic, because you're right, there's still a lot of holes. You look at what the Mets did this offseason, you even look at what the Nationals did this offseason. They're not going to be an easy win this year. That's a team that is still 2 years removed from a World Series. That is a very, very strong core. I guess my counter with the Phillies and why I think they're going to finish in second, maybe at 85, 86, 87 wins, is their biggest issue last year was the bullpen. If they just had a bad bullpen, not a historically bad bullpen, just a bad bullpen, that's a team that might win the NL East. And you look at the additions they made this year. I like Kinsler, I like Tony Watson, Jose Alvarado. I think he's going to be good. Archie Bradley, he's a good addition. It's like the bullpen doesn't have to be that much better than last year. They just have to be serviceable. And if they can be serviceable, that's a team that I look on paper that can compete every single night. Now, you look at the Mets and all the additions they made. Look, they had a fantastic offseason. The amount of people who were like, oh, they didn't get Springer, they didn't get Bauer. They got Francisco Lindor, who's better than all those players. Like, I want to make sure that's very clear. Getting Lindor is insane. What I think it's going to come down to is whose front office do I trust more compared to the Mets, the Phillies, and the Nationals. I look at Dave Dombrowski and what he tends to do. If we're at the deadline and we're at a position where we need 2 or 3 extra wins to pass the Nationals, to pass the Mets, to catch up to the Braves, I think Dombrowski is the type of president who's going to pull the right strings, whereas last year, Matt Klentak, he pulled all of the incorrect strings.
Right. I just think that, I don't know. To me, I think it's going to, they'll be in it until September. I just feel like, 3 weeks, you get to like 3 weeks to the end of the season, it's going to be like, all right, then we're going to fade a little bit. That's just my opinion. I totally agree with you on Dombrowski. I just think it's like, there's a lot of things that could go wrong for the Phillies though, too. I mean, what if Eflin isn't, what if he shows he's not consistent? What if Matt Moore sucks? What if he's not good? What if Chase Anderson is what he was last year? What if Spencer Howard isn't ready? Then you don't even have a rotation, That's just how I look at it. That's but on the flip side, if Chase Anderson's who he was in Milwaukee, if Matt Moore comes back and he says, "Wait, I'm ready to be a major league pitcher again," and Eflin decides like, "Hey, I want to be what I was last year," then it could be really good. And on the same thing with the bullpen, like if Alvarado decides I want to be the pitcher I was 2-3 years ago, and I mean that I don't know what pitch that is. I don't know if that's his 2-seamer, if that's his sinker, that's like 99, 100 that moves. It's disgusting. I mean, if he has that going this year, he can be, a really good piece for the bullpen. Nearest, if Nearest decides he wants to be consistent, he can be. We've seen it, but we've also seen a Nearest that isn't that great. He's been sent down before to the minors. So I mean, Archie Bradley, to me, good reliever. I think fans love his personality. They love his personality. I think that kind of, not that he's a bad pitcher, he's a good pitcher. But I've seen a little too much optimism. And I mean, obviously they're going to be better than they were last year, right? They have to. There's no way they can be worse. So let's talk spring training though. What have you seen so far? It's been about a week or two into the spring training. Give me some of your takeaways, what you like, what you don't like, just general thoughts.
Yeah, and spring training is always tough, right? How much do these outings matter? How much do these plate appearances matter? My general thought with spring training has always been, I'd rather see them look good than look bad, right? Like you see, I put out an article, Mickey Moniak's playing really well right now, and people are like, "Oh, it's spring training." I'm like, "Well, do you want him to strike out every time?" Like it's good that he's hitting. It's good that the Phillies pitchers are pitching well at the moment. Matt Moore has looked really, really good through his first 2 outings. Chase Anderson looked more than acceptable through his first outing. The bullpen, obviously, Alvarado coming out throwing 100 in his first outing. That's completely ridiculous. That has me very optimistic about him. I guess, obviously, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on this, the center field position, I think, is going to be so big for the Phillies this year. And I think that's something that Dombrowski could be forced into making a trade if they can't figure this out. Obviously, Hazley looked like the guy, and then now he's hurt again, right? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Scott Kingery still can't hit the baseball. I love Mickey Moniak. I'm so high on this kid. I think there's still a ton of potential there. I don't know if they'll let him make the main roster. Odubel Herrera, who knows what's going on there. That's the position I'm going to continue to watch really, really closely alongside the bullpen, alongside the rotation. Can they find someone in center field? Because that's such an important position, just defensively, offensively. It's so important. Can they find someone to finally give them plus play in center field? I think that's really what needs to drive the conversation over the next 2 weeks and a half.
Yeah. So you wanted to get my thoughts on center field? I mean, I just read an article this morning from Matt Gelb talking about, non-roster invites and who's going to make the team, who's not. And I think he has the outfielders as Kutch, Harper, Matt Joyce, and Odubel. And you know what? Currently, right now, I mean, that's what it looks like to me. I mean, strictly baseball. I mean, do I agree with what he did? No, I don't think anyone does. Is he going to hear some boos in the stadium, especially because fans are going to be there now? Probably. Um, but strictly baseball, I don't. I like you said with Kingery, he can't hit the baseball right now. Kingery hasn't shown me that he's ready to blossom into that player that he was signed for 3 years ago, getting that huge contract. Uh, you know, um, Moniak's not ready, man. I know you love Moniak. I see you tweeting about Moniak all day long. I
I'm
get
gonna
it.
keep tweeting about him too. I'm gonna keep doing it all the way.
Yo, maybe that's the thing. Keep tweeting and he'll keep hitting. Maybe you're the good luck charm. I don't know. But Moniak's not ready yet. Maybe he will be at some point this year. That would be great. Um, Hazley sucks that he got hurt. But it's not like he's gonna be out for the season. If he comes back and he can stay healthy, then who knows? Maybe he's the guy,
Mhm.
and we just go 2 or 3 weeks with somebody else, just mixing it up. But to me, man, I think you got to go with the Double right now, currently. Maybe he stops it in the next couple weeks, but he's looked good so far. And I just it's a hole. But like I said, the offense isn't like the biggest concern. If you don't have an incredible center fielder, I mean, you still have a pretty loaded offense. You have Harper. Kutch is getting up there in age, but I still like him as the leadoff hitter. Alec Boehm, how fun is he going to be this year? Hopefully,
Yeah.
we don't get a sophomore slump. Which could happen because young players. I mean, a lot of young players go through that, but not trying to jinx anything. But it looks like he's the real deal. Didi, hitting out of the 5 hole last year. I think he was raking last year in the 5 hole. Segura can still hit. Reese, you know what, man? I mean, a lot of people don't like Reese for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because when he came up that first year, he hit like 20 home runs in the first month when he came up. I don't know what it is about Reese. He has had down stretches. We saw that, in 2019 in the latter half of the season, he wasn't very good at all. He was one of the worst hitters in baseball. So I get it. But he was hitting the ball well before he got injured last year. And I'm excited for Reese, especially, in this offense. I think he can, he can hit well. He'll have the opportunity to. And you got Real Muto, and best catcher in baseball, both ways. So I'm not so like worried about center field. Like, yeah, it's definitely like a hole we need to fix, but like I'd rather have a solid bullpen and a good rotation than not have a center fielder. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way I look at it. So yeah,
Yeah, I want to touch on Reese real quick, and then I'll go back to the center field conversation.
sure.
Reese is a very good baseball player. I think the thing with him is expectations have to change. He's not the second coming of Ryan Howard. He never was going to be. Obviously, his rookie season, he looked like he was going to be that type of player. He's really good at drawing walks. He can get on base. He can give you a little bit of power. If people kind of change their expectation for him to be kind of like a dumbed down version of Joey Votto, a Dollar Tree version of Joey Votto, where he's in that 2 hole, he's just getting on base for Harper, for Ramito, for Didi. He's a very productive player. The reason I highlighted center field is more so for the defense. A lot of people fail to realize that last year the Phillies had the worst defense in all of baseball at one point. It was really, really bad, and that only further exasperated the issues that came in the bullpen, the issues that came in the starting rotation, where pitchers were making good pitches and they weren't getting outs because the defense couldn't do it. And obviously, McCutchen, not going to be a good defender in left field. Didi, he's okay. He's not a great defender at shortstop. Alec Boehm, Reese Hoskins, they're not great defenders on the corners either. You need a big glue guy out in center field. I thought it was going to be Adam Hazley. Again, I don't know what he's going to look like after this injury. I'm starting to get a little bit worried with how frequent he's getting hurt. I need him available for a full 162 if we're going to make him an everyday center fielder. So it's who's going to provide that plus defense in the outfield to kind of save this bullpen a little bit, save this rotation a little bit, where you have guys making good pitches, forcing ground balls, forcing fly balls. I just need the defense to finally start making plays.
Yeah. So here's my thing. Like, I totally agree that the Phillies did not have a good defense last year, but like, how important is it having good defense? I mean, like, are we saying that if the Phillies had a good defense last year, they make the playoffs? Like, I don't. It's not that it's not important. I just think that like I don't know. I mean, to me, like when I think about, I mean, it's not like this isn't basketball. This isn't football. It's not like defense wins
Mhm.
championships in baseball. It's about pitching and, having a good lineup. To me, like, I mean, I see people talking about all the time, oh, the Phillies didn't have a good defense. Like, who cares? I get what you're saying. It's not like it's not important, but is that really going to win us more games if we play better defensively? How many more wins better are the Phillies if they have a solid defense?
If we're going off the logic that the NL East is going to come down to the last couple of games, I think it might be the difference between them finishing 500 again or below 500 and finally jumping that hurdle into the postseason. Again, is it as important as a good offense or a pitching staff? More specifically, the pitching staff, right? If the pitchers just strike everybody out, we don't need a defense. I agree with that point, but I do think it's important. You can't have the worst defense in the league and expect to make the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do agree. I'm not saying that it's not like it's not a thing. I'm just saying that like I
Mhm.
think like people put emphasis on that. I'm like, well, let's talk about what's really important, like the bullpen and for the fourth and fifth spot in the rotation. That's just me. That's just how I look at it.